can you taste? Little taste. Novocaine.
Oh yeah, I was like, dog, I
baby,
know this
baby.
song.
Little Frankie.
Yeah, bro, man's is good.
Hey there.
Howdy, bitch.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Welcome to Coming Up for Air, an introspective podcast.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say some real stupid ass shit, but I was like, you know what?
No
We're
cuts.
I was like, we're not gonna do this right now. We're being disciplined today.
Yeah. For those who watch on release day, you'll notice this episode's releasing pretty late. Recording was kind of a little bit of a struggle this week.
Yeah, it's all good. Super Bowl weekend, and then work and life and shit happens, you know?
Yeah. I ended up being on a double yesterday and was rocked.
Yeah, and I go to sleep
because I also forgot it
early.
was Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. Fun fact, mid to high-end dining in the restaurant industry on Valentine's Day, it's going to be busy.
Probably.
And I didn't think about it as Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
so it was rough.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I didn't even like... That makes so much sense now.
Yeah, I was
that
like,
makes so much sense.
And one of my coworkers called out too.
Ooh.
Yeah, the guy who was supposed to let me be able to go on break. So I didn't get a break yesterday.
Got it.
So I went full 11-hour shift.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
What a time to be alive.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're talking about childlike wonder, which is a whole fun topic. Actually, one of my favorite things to talk about. And we'll kind of get into it and why and stuff and talk about the details. But before we do that, we had an exciting weekend here because the Super Bowl was in town. So there's a lot of really cool events that were also kind of happening around that.
And a lot of fuckery.
So, Brendan.
I went to the Guy Fieri.
Yeah. Guy Fifi.
Guy Fifi. You know, chubby-ish dude. Spiky blonde hair and makes a whole bunch of unnecessary gas food. That could probably kill somebody.
Have you seen his normal, like, home-style cooking? He makes some really good shit that's not as, like...
excessive and, like, theatrical.
Yeah.
I figured, you know what I mean? But, like, obviously, like I went to obviously, what, you know, he calls Flavor Town, right? So,
I'm taking you to Flavor Town.
Anywho, so we walk in, and it's like they have, like, wood chips, obviously, like, on the floor, because when you're, you know, the wood smoke, blah, 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 you know, they put wood chips in the grill, a bunch of bullshit like that. There's, like, like, the thought for everything is in there, you know what I mean? So he worked with all the vendors that were there. There were some that were local, and then there were some that obviously, like, came with the Super Bowl and, like, his shit. But it was cool because he was, like, walking around, and, like, when he first originally came out, dude walks around with, like, big fat cigar in his mouth, and he's just saying what's up to people. Cash App paid for most of it from what it looked like. Like, if you had a Cash App Visa card, like, you had 25% off all your food and, like, drinks and shit like that.
Dang.
Which was gas because, like, a margarita was, like, that was, like, this big was, like, $20. Yeah, bro, it was stupid, bro. She put, like, an ounce and a half in my margarita.
Well, that's a shot.
Yeah, but, like, it was like 6 pounds of sugar in that bitch. Like, you couldn't even taste the tequila. So it was kind of ass. But the food was all right. They had some Philly cheesesteaks but we were with some people who were from Philly, and they looked at, like, they, like, were evaluating, like, the bread and, like, the shit that they were using, and they were like, that's disrespectful.
They
were like, they're not even using, like, even close to the shit that you're supposed to be using for a Philly cheesesteak. We're like, we are not eating
like
here.
An authentic.
Yeah, so we were like,
it's rarely ever.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, they're gonna be so mad when I tell them I eat Jersey Mike's.
Dude, I gotta take you to this Philly cheesesteak place out here.
Is it downtown?
Not quite downtown, no.
I might know what spot you're talking. I think my dad's gotten there before. He, like, raves about this Philly cheese spot. Yeah.
And they're authentic.
But anywho, I mean, all in all, it was pretty cool. If you had, like, the guap to just keep trying food, I guess. If you're a big foodie, it was pretty good. If you like to get fucked up, that was definitely the place to do it. You know, before the game and whatnot. One of the homies that we were with said that he got 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, like, through his job, and
Lucky motherfucker.
Yeah, he sold. Well, he's a reporter for the Niners out in California.
All right, well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what's it called? He said that he sold a ticket for like $9K.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is ridiculous.
That's $3K above what some of them were just normally selling for.
We had a family friend who had sweet tickets, or I guess their friend were selling sweet tickets for $21,000 a piece.
Yeah.
I was like, dog, you're like selling salaries right now.
Yeah.
Like, you are selling like normal people's salaries type shit. Like, that's crazy. Yeah.
Some people make that in a year.
Yeah. That shit's mind blowing to me. It was crazy to see. But I mean, all in all, it was like you said, it was just a very eventful weekend. My cousin went to the Gronk thing that happened out here, and he saw like Rampage Jackson and like Reggie Bush, Debo Samuel, who's a wide receiver for the Niners. He said he was like fucking jacked and shit like that, and he was like, it was like. He always likes seeing athletes like in person and stuff like that because like obviously they look one way on TV and then you see them and they're like absolutely just fucking units.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? Like if you were to see Derrick Henry, you know who Derrick Henry is? Running back for the Titans. Big dreads. No. Like literally looks like a fucking cheat code. Stiff arms. He's literally known for just stiff arming people. He looks like a fucking like freight train. He's like 6'5", 6'6", probably like 250, 260. Just runs through people.
Yeah.
I'm probably over exaggerating on his weight, but he's about 6'5", 6'6". It's stupid as a running back. But yeah, I mean, just seeing like athletes being able to experience. He saw 21 Savage live. I was so jealous. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a pretty good weekend.
Can I get a song from 21 Savage so I have reference point?
A lot with J. Cole.
I'm gonna need how it goes, but
how much money you got? A lot.
Yeah. Okay, I've got up.
Yeah. How many you kill? A lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That song. I was like, damn, what's a good one that you would actually know? I was like, fuck. I was like, he just dropped the album with Drake.
Do your thing.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I
know
mean?
that one.
Yeah, but fuck Drake, so it's fine.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Drake can go fuck himself.
I don't know what he did this time, but all right.
He was influenced or involved in the murder of X.
Right. I'm caught up.
I'm convinced that they did. I still
anyway,
I still
had a wild weekend.
I haven't listened to a Drake song since.
Fair
Fuck
enough.
that guy.
So my weekend, I was working during the Super Bowl and everything, and we were slow as can be. Like
on Sunday?
I had
bet.
3 guests.
Yeah, I bet.
And 2 of them came in and had 1 drink and then left. And that was the whole thing. So I made $22 that night.
That's fucked.
Until the end of the night.
You basically worked for free.
Yes. So 9 p.m. hits, right? We close at 10, and a lady runs through the door. And she like sprints through the door. She goes, "Are you guys open? Or are you closing?" And we're like, "We're open for an hour." And then she's like, "Okay, awesome. Can I steal a menu really quick?" And we're like, "Yeah." She grabs the menu, dips back out. We're like, "What the fuck?" And so she comes back in and she says, "Can we get a table? Can we get that table?" And points to a table in my section. And I'm like, "Oh no, man. I don't wanna. I'm gonna be here till fucking 11." Never takes a person an hour to eat. It usually takes about 20 minutes to get the food out even.
Yeah, especially at the spot that you work at, and
Yeah.
and just like the food that is obviously on the menu, like
yeah,
it's
you're
not
slow
like
eating,
quick,
so because it's heavy food. It's just anyway. So she goes and sits down, and then a guy follows her, and he comes in, and then I go pour water for them, and I'm like, "Yeah," just talking to them, and then she's like, "Can we order this? We have a guest coming." And I'm like, "Okay." So I like put in the stuff. She's like, "Just place it right there." I was like, "Okay." And then I go put in the stuff, and my boss walks with me and said, "Hey, you see out the front door? See that guy right there?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's the guy just walking back and forth wearing all black. He's like, "That's Ben Stiller." And then I'm like, "Huh?" And then like he kind of like shifts to where I see the side profile. I'm like, "Oh shit, that's Ben Stiller."
Yeah, did he give you like that look? You know what I mean?
Are you talking about the Blue Steel Zoolander look?
Yeah. No. Imagine.
No, he was FaceTiming. I'm pretty sure he was FaceTiming his wife.
Oh, what a time to be alive.
And then, so I'm like, oh. And then I look at the table. We have a special guest coming. I look back. I'm like, oh. I know who he's here for. I know who's serving that guy.
Nice.
And so I ended up serving and waiting on Ben Stiller.
That's lit. How was he as a person?
He was pretty chill, honestly. Like, I didn't talk to him a whole lot, but I've learned...
That'd be like Tropic Thunder?
I've learned something about myself, which is that I can maintain a level of calmness whenever I am like, especially in a work environment around people, because I've been around celebrities before doing my other job.
Yeah.
And had no problem because they are technically clients that I am like, you have to listen to me whenever I tell you to do a thing. But a lot of people are like freaking out because, Ben Stiller's big. I love Ben Stiller. A lot of people love Ben Stiller. And he's also had a little bit of like a resurgence with like meme culture in some of his movies and stuff. And so all like a bunch of my coworkers were like, Jaxon, you're like eerily calm about serving Ben Stiller. And I was like, I mean, he's just a guy, First thing that I had to tell him was like, I don't have Diet Coke. I can't get you that. And then he was like, oh. He's like, can you do like lemonade and tea? And I was like, yeah, I can do an Arnold Palmer. Like, yeah. So I went and did that. But I feel like he felt a little type of way because I did not acknowledge like...
That he was Ben Stiller?
Yeah, I was just like, hey, boss, what's up? Which is how I talk to like all my guests. Like,
yeah.
Hey, man. What can I get you, boss? Thanks, guys. Normal stuff.
And not the, oh my God, you're Ben Stiller.
Yeah. But so I served him, his assistant, from what I can gather, and then his brother-in-law. And they were all really cool. Ben Stiller doesn't eat bread because he's Hollywood, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, he probably knows something we don't about the food that gets processed and shit like that.
So. I don't know. But then my boss bought him a whole dessert board, which is like 90% bread and fattening. So I was like,
So he didn't really eat any of it?
They tried some of it. But not a lot of it. They like a third of the cheesecake, like a third of a lobster tail. They tried like 2 of the cookies. And then like a little bit of like a chocolate tart thing that we had. And I was like, well, you know what? Not my business. I don't care.
Yeah. Good for you, dog.
His tab ended up being, I know this is the part people actually care about. His tab ended up being 109. He tipped 100.
Swear.
Very swag.
What a thug.
Yeah. So very swag, very cool.
It's probably because you did keep your cool and you just probably treated him like a normal human being. Like most celebrities do say like, oh, like, yeah, when I get treated like a normal human, like I appreciate that more than being treated as like
a celebrity.
Yeah. Like somebody that's above others.
Fucked me up is like, and the only thing that I did that was like, oh, you're a celebrity, so you're getting special treatment is that as soon as I was like, oh yeah, you wanted a Diet Coke, but we don't have that shit. To my boss, he was like, oh, okay, I'll just run next door. You know who it is. But he like goes next door, grabs like a cup and fills it with Diet Coke and is like, here, give this to him. And I'm like, okay. So then I just like take another glass down and then in the styrofoam cup, pour the Diet Coke into the glass and go give it to him. And I'm like, hey, my boss ran next door and grabbed this. So I have a little bit of Diet Coke. And then he was like, oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hold on.
Jesus.
But yeah, other than that, like, that was probably the only special treatment he got. And it was pretty clear that I was just like willing to be like, we don't got it. Sorry, boss. Figure it out.
Yeah, like, meh, pick something else.
Yeah, like, I can't do much for you. But yeah, he was cool. I think that there's a weird, like, industry standard of also, like, this is one thing that I did want to talk about, which is my boss wanted to get a photo with him. Mm-hmm. And then, like, we were just talking about it. I was like, oh, yeah, my dad and my mom love Ben Stiller. Because my mom thinks he's super funny and my dad like loves almost all the movies he's in. Yeah. And my dad doesn't like love comedy stuff a lot. He doesn't laugh a whole lot.
Yeah. So like when it's something that really gets him going, it's
when I hear him laugh or whenever I make him laugh,
you know that it was funny.
Yeah, like most people are like, oh, whenever my dad says like, I'm proud of you, like that brings me to tears. It's like when I make my dad laugh, that's the shit that brings me to tears. I'm like, yeah, I've made it.
He said, I did it.
I've peaked. I'll never be funny like this again. But yeah, and so I was just like talking about it. He's like, well, you can't get a picture with him. Only I'm allowed to. Like, you're not allowed to. And it's kind of a thing in service jobs where you are not supposed to, as a service worker for these people, because they're your guests, quote unquote, you're not supposed to ask for pictures with people. You're not supposed to, like, be a human and be interested.
The entire store asked Machete to get a fucking picture
Like,
when he showed up.
Quite a few of them, yeah.
Literally.
But it was also like
damn near the whole kitchen came out from the kitchen just to say what's up to
be
that
fair,
motherfucker.
he also went off to the side and said, like, I'm going to do photos with everybody now.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that they got a little bit of a pass, but I'm not. I think that it was also the situation of him coming in, like, right before close. Also, as much as I am, like, so thankful for everything, I also did have to stay an hour after close because of him. So I was like, fuck.
Like, thanks for the money, bro, but like.
Yeah, but also it was a 6-hour shift of me standing there with my dick in my hand pretending it was a helicopter propeller, so. Because I was just watching. Well, I was just actually watching the game most of the time.
I hope everyone gets a good, clear picture of that in their head.
I was mostly just watching the game during the whole time. But anyway, so. But I just don't get that. I don't get the whole, like, service workers can't be human. Because imagine, like, that's like. Okay, for me, it's not Ben Stiller, but imagine, like, one of my biggest.
Imagine Robert Pattinson walks through the door.
Robert Pattinson, Ludwig, like, you know, like or like Matt Mercer, like
you're looking at your boss and literally going and being like, this suck my dick.
This
bro.
is an idol. Like, this is a person I look up to. And like for me, like as cool, I don't think like Robert Pattinson's necessarily the nail on the head for me because that'd be more of like I care about the meeting moment, but
yeah, it was just the first person.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if it was something that like was really like, oh, I look up to this person, or like, you know, whatever.
You said, like Ludwig.
Yeah, like that, or like even when I met Marisha Ray at the Ludwig event, like, and got a photo with her and talked to her for a minute, like that was something that meant so much to me, and so it's like to tell a service worker or somebody in that position of like, hey, you can't be human, you can't have this level of like connection and be like, that would fucking suck if that was like the person that I was like,
oh my god, dude,
yeah,
like I'm fanboying.
Yeah, like this is the person that I looked up to, because you're never gonna get that chance again.
Yeah,
and if you do, it's like once, you know, like in a blue moon. Like it's such a rare, like,
and especially that close to like talking to them and like
in a private environment where it is more of like,
it's not like out in the open where they're just walking by and you're trying to like wave them down or some shit.
Yeah,
like
you know, or they're like, you know, surrounded already and they kind of like, all right, like let's fucking funnel through this.
Damn, what a bitch.
Yeah.
That's why he looks like a fucking cable version of Mr. Clean.
Well, not even
little dumb hoe.
He got called that night.
Good.
Anyway, it's more just like
spit on his head.
Anyway,
stupid.
But it's more just like how the fact that that's just the standard in the industry job, regardless, is kind of weird.
Kind of shitty. Kind of weird. Not very
champ.
cash money.
Yeah, weird champ. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's hit it, brother. So, Brendan, we're talking about childlike wonder. Now, and I want to know, before we really dig into it, what does that mean for you? What is childlike wonder to you?
I think that's hilarious that you asked me that, because I literally asked you what the fuck that meant right before we started.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to skip over, I could just
no. I just
guide us in.
No, it was funny to me that that I think you realized it too, because as you asked the question, you also smirked, so it's fine.
We're doing good.
Anyway,
this is a comedy podcast, first and foremost.
Yeah, all good things. Bitches, you know. But childlike wonder, to me, from what it sounds like, and I guessed pretty correctly from what Jaxon told me, but I would kind of assume that it means like when you're obviously like going through life still. The older we get, you know, we try to grow up and try to have like such an adult look on things, and, you know, a very mature look on things, and sometimes we need the complete opposite. You know what I mean? Like, there's just situations that really don't need the seriousness and really don't need the maturity of a fucking, you know, adult who's really trying to take serious of make serious moments of everything, and like really trying to like oh, it has to be this way. It has to. It's like, nah, bro. Like, this is a situation that, like, it's kind of very carefree. It's supposed to be an enjoyable moment.
Even what we were just talking about, like the celebrity thing.
Yeah, like having those experiences, like as a kid, like it's almost like very. I guess you can call it childish, but not in a bad way. It's very childish emotions. Like, you know, you get very giddy,
It's
and
like meeting your favorite cartoon character, or your favorite, you know.
yeah, and just like being able to like. It's completely different, especially, you know, meeting a celebrity is a great example because seeing people on TV and on camera and on, you know, movie screen for, you know, your entire childhood and being able to see these certain, you know, scenes in your head as soon as you see that person, it's like, damn, like now I get to actually like serve this person and talk to them. And so, you know, it kind of does go hand in hand into, you know, going back to it being shitty that you weren't able to take a picture, yada, yada. But, I mean, having a child's like, you know, wonder and like child's mindset to some things is honestly like necessary. And I think if we were to be a little bit more childish and not give a fuck as much, which we've talked about before, is people are too sensitive and take shit too seriously. And then it turns into them feeling some type of way because they want to be so serious about a certain situation. It's like, bro, just lighten the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it's going to do for you to be serious or, you know, think that only this way is how something can be done. Or that's one of my biggest pet peeves is people who think that there's only one way to do something.
That's part of kind of my issue with like the school education system too.
Yeah, like
which is complete aside, but
yeah, like no matter how you get to your answer, bro, as long as you get to the correct answer, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like
2 + 2. If you had to go to the moon and back and fucking Mars and then be like it's 4, bro, I'd have been like, you could have just, you know.
Yeah, like as long as you get it done and you can operate successfully in society, it's whatever. For me, childlike wonder is this innate ability to kind of like tap into the things that make you happy or just
tap in.
No shot. Anyway, that where you can just kind of zone in on the things that make you happy or bring out inner giddiness where you don't have to worry about anything. Or like you can kind of just shut off and you're like, I'm not concerned about bills or like the stresses of the life around me, and it's just pure unadulterated excitement. It is just happiness in its purest raw form. Because that's the thing is like whenever people talk about childlike wonder is the implication that children only have this feeling because they have no concept of what the world actually is. That's the whole point, is like the child innocence is...
Yeah, like the bubble you're put in.
Is that you can have no conceptual notion of what the world is. And I think that some of that bubble breaks whenever like you realize how big the world is around you. And then like you realize that not everything good will happen all the time. Or like, you know, you get bullied for the first time and like things kind of start to shift. Or you realize like...
Or that you're the only one who thinks you're the main character in your life.
Yeah, or like the Santa Claus stuff, or like, you know, whatever it might be. Like, and it's funny that we're talking about this to me because the fact of we run a podcast that is entirely centered on comedy and introspection, where we're trying to help people understand how to further better themselves and be more of like an adult, I guess. When in actuality, like this is a moment where we're being like, hey, you know, sometimes like step away from that.
Yeah.
And so I want to do a little experiment with you, Brendan.
Oh shit. All right.
So whenever we worked at Yutch Bros,
fuck that place.
We both were managers.
Unfortunately.
So whenever we would do POWs, which for people who don't know is like you do a little shindig, a little pre-meeting chat, basically, to try and hype up your crew and kind of get the vibes for the shift and make everything start off on a good foot. I would do one, this is after you left, on childlike wonder. Because I discovered as a topic that could be kind of important and kind of like a very swag thing to kind of like hone people into.
I almost said some...
So what I want you to do for me, Brendan, and listeners at home, you could do this too.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to do me a favor and think back to when you were younger and think of something that was like your favorite thing to do, something that just made you so, so happy. Like, what is something that is so important to you when you were younger? While he's thinking, I'll tell you mine. And while you're thinking, listener, because I know it's a hard question. For me, it was Christmas. And we've talked about before what my Christmas traditions were on the podcast. We've talked about, like, I spend a lot of time with my family, and it was like a big surprise event where like we would do a lot of things that were unexpected, or there was just constantly like something happening. It was very exciting, heartfelt stuff, and like it was just pure moments with my family that were uninterrupted, and there couldn't be anything bad happening,
For me, it'd either have to be probably football or playing video games.
Yeah.
Those were just kind of like my two getaways. That's
Do you know
really all I
why?
did. Huh?
Do you know why?
'Cause football, it was okay, and it was not only okay, but it was looked at as a better thing for me to be bigger than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of football, it was almost frowned upon.
Yeah.
It was all like I always got fucked with about it.
Yeah.
So whenever I was in football and people were like, you're bigger than everybody, you need to learn how to use it. It was always just like, I finally like am being allowed to like be okay being big. Video games was just obviously like a kind of just escape from, like we said, like the real world. And being a kid, like playing COD, I was super into zombies and grinding out skins, and like 2K, I would buy all the fucking coins and like max my dude out and was just wilding out. And like, I don't know, I would stay up to like 5, 6 a.m. and then like when my mom would leave for work, like in the summer, I would act like I'm asleep. And then, and then like get back up and like hop back on the sticks and shit like that. So I don't know, I just always remember that, like playing sports and playing video games, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Now, the next part is think about something nowadays that makes you feel that same feeling. And this one always takes longer. This one's always kind of a little harder to pinpoint. But I want you to think about what is something that you do nowadays or have experienced nowadays that gives you that same feeling, that same lovely happiness that you can't quite describe.
That's actually not that hard for me. Anytime that I've been at like some type of like lookout or like view spot with a blunt in my mouth, I'm not gonna lie to you, the pure like serenity I've gotten from it, and like just calmness of like whether it be thoughts in my head, the way I'm feeling in my chest, the way I'm kind of just like looking at the world and like thinking about shit, like everything just all at once, kind of just like.
Hell yeah. So here's the cool part about this. For me, it'd be movies. Going to the movie theater, seeing the lights dim, and it's kind of just in this world where it is still something unexpected. I don't really always know what's going to happen, but I know for a fact that I'm in for a ride, and usually I'm with somebody, so it's going to be a good time either way. Because if it's a bad movie, I'll sit there and I'll joke with them. And if it's a good movie, then I'm having a great time anyway. And so it's still this, and I have great memories and fondness for movies when it comes to my mom, and so there's always going to be this level of like homeliness and connection of unexpectedness. When you think of your two things, when you think of when you were a kid and then when you're an adult, there's usually some sort of path, some sort of string or ley line, these little connections that you can kind of tether to one another of like, column A is why I got to column B. So for you, the video games line makes sense of being like, it is a point where I go to the lookouts, I go and I roll my joint, my balloon.
Pick out the season stamps, you know what I mean?
Feeling high as hell. You are still finding that escapism.
Yeah.
That point where you can disconnect from reality and kind of just be in your own world and be in your own comfortability.
Yeah, because I'm usually like, whenever I have like, I'm smoking, I'm either like watching anime or, even just like letting or just like listening, to the wind and shit like that. Like no matter what I'm doing, it's just like.
Which is the whole thing of like, that's that ley line. That's that connection point. Is your childlike wonder can come from that type of stuff. For me, it is the feeling of like homeliness. It's that connection to like, I am still connected with my mom, like this family thing, or like I am on an unexpected journey that is guaranteed to only bring me happiness in some way. Even if the movie makes me sad, it is a form of happiness because of the fact that it is an unexpected journey, and only good things can happen in a movie theater for me, because only good things can happen on a movie. You know, the real world kind of fades away.
It makes sense.
So, for you listeners at home, find what that little like tether is, that little ley line. Like, take a minute to think about it. Like, really process what that is, because you can find those little ley points, those little ley lines. You can pull on those tethers anywhere you go. There are thousands of things you do every day that you can kind of pull on that little string and tug on it to feel that childlike wonder, to feel the pure joy. Because it's like literally in thousands of things you do every day. For me, video games fulfill the same role. The unexpected, like, but I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Because it's what I love, or, whatever it might be. And so it's so easy to create childlike wonder for yourself by focusing on what it is nowadays, what that tether is, what it made you feel back then to what it is now. But that was what I would always tell people. That was the POW, basically. And
wow, way to tie it back into how you started this, bro. Because I would have never remembered. I did not remember that that's how you started this. Holy shit, you're so good. Could never be me. Not even a little bit.
But that's how I would do this POW. And
wow.
I remember one time
I'm shocked.
I did this POW for a group of people, and I was known as the guy who did like really emotional POWs.
Yeah,
I did things to make people
like
feel something.
POWs.
Yeah, I did things to make people feel something, to think, because I wanted them to feel ready to work. And if they weren't ready to work, then I wanted them to feel like they had a reason to be there at least. Like they came to work to learn something at least. Because I always wanted somebody to be like, well, today was a shit day at work, but at least I learned something at the start of it, or whatever it might be, or they discover something. Even if it's only for, 10 minutes, they learn something about themselves. I remember having this person walk up to me after shift, and they pulled me aside, and they were like, hey, your POW at the beginning really meant a lot to me, because my aunt, who I was really close to, just died. Like, just passed away literally a couple days ago. And I was like, why are you here? I was like, why are you working? And they're like, I was really close with them, but I couldn't really not work. I need the money. And so, I'm here. And it kind of meant a lot to me because it really helped me define the things that I love and cared about. And it kind of makes it to where those things are important to me for the right reasons and not the reasons of she being gone. And I was like, well, I'm glad I can help.
You're like, damn, not how I thought I was going to start my day, but thanks, man.
Well, it was at the end of the shift. Like, we got all the way to the end, which
okay.
I think means more if they had that with them.
Yeah, and was really
through
thinking
a 6-hour shift.
Especially working at Dutch.
Yeah, where you, like, are in a high energy environment and you, like...
And you have to act like you really love your life.
Yeah. And, they seemed like they were in the best mood that I'd ever seen them on that shift.
Wow.
And so you kind of... I think that a lot of people, and this kind of breaks the conversation piece, but I think a lot of people don't understand the validity and the power that the things that they tell people, the guidance that they provide, the way that they try to navigate situations, or the moment somebody might be in that they're not necessarily voicing to you, can help somebody so much or reveal something to them that they hadn't really noticed prior.
Yeah, like if you talked into a crowd of like 100 people, right, and you're just saying the most outlandish ass shit, right, but to you it makes sense, and everybody else is like, oh, this dude's talking fucking nonsense, right? As long as there's one person that is like, this dude right here, changing my life.
Because here's the thing, that one dude who gets it, that one dude who's like, I know exactly what they mean, and that means everything to me. Not only is that one person that you've impacted, that you've changed the life of, that person also might have a better way to word it that reaches more people.
Yeah, and then they're going to go on and be like, yo, I was listening to this dude, and then kind of went something like this, and then they spit it out, and then people are like, oh. You know what I mean? And that's the power of obviously like
Language and perspective.
yeah, and being able to communicate to each other and being able to kind of like how you said, put it in different words that other people are gonna understand. Because if you have a certain, what's the
Como se dice?
if it's obviously if you understand your demographic, right?
Yeah.
If you're an influencer or if you're just someone who lives in a certain area and you understand your demographic, obviously you need to say shit in different ways than you would in different areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no,
Oh, hey. None of that.
I'm gonna freak out, bro. Can't do no cuts.
No cats.
But yeah, it's just obviously understanding like the people that you influence and the people who are around you and stuff like that, and how to be able to talk to them and how they're gonna understand what you're saying and actually have it click.
Yeah. So to round us back, I want to know what do you think that it means for you? What do you think it does, or how does it impact you, childlike wonder?
I just bashed this chair into my knee and it hurt so bad.
You say,
I think that it impacts. Ow, dude! I think that it impacts me. Because I've always kind of been like the lighthearted, like goofy, like he ha ha, always make a joke out of
quote
something.
unquote class clown.
Yeah, I've always been the class clown, and whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, I've kind of learned to like slowly like ease up on it. Like if we're like the homies who know me, or like the homies that, like when we're behind closed doors, like I'm usually like a class clown, like an ass. But now that like I've kind of learned to like rein it in, like being out in public and stuff like that, and you know, kind of being that like calm, collected person, because then not only do you kind of enforce this mysterious aura around you, but that also forces other people to have that childlike wonder about like, yo, who the fuck is this random ass dude? Like, what is this dude about? You know what I mean? Like, who's this person about? Like, what's up with them? You know what I mean? So you kind of create like this own like already agenda that people want to form and find out about you. So you already kind of you give yourself some power, which is kind of like the way I like to view it, and but also kind of seeing things for not what they are, because the biggest thing that kids like for me either point out the purest like oblivious fucking fact that you can be like, obviously that's that, you know what I mean, or they say some like completely like nonsense that doesn't make any sense to you, but it would like, even once you really think about it, you're like, I see how you see that, you know what I mean, or like I can see where they got this from, you know what I mean. And they may not like kind of like how we said earlier, it may not be wrong, or it may not be the right thing, or like that way to do it, or that certain like thing doesn't mean it's wrong, you know what I mean, or doesn't mean that it can't be something else. And I don't know, I feel like always trying to have a different perspective or a different view or a different just entirety outlook on certain things could be life-changing to not only you but the people who surround you.
Yeah. I definitely think you're right.
Kind of rambled on that, but
no, I mean you're good. It's weird because this is one of those things where it is so personal. Childlike wonder is one of those things where like it's a very broad topic, but it is so personable in the fact that everybody's experiences are different, and the things that you hold dear and you find to fill that checkbox, you know, that mark, are entirely yours. There's no way somebody can tell you you're wrong or you're dumb for feeling like this thing that you did when you were a child or this thing that you do now makes you have that same level of giddiness. For me, childlike wonder's purpose is it allows for you to find a moment of brevity in chaos. I think that if you can't find childlike wonder in anything that you're doing, or you can't find that level of happiness and comfort, then you're missing the point. You're missing the reason that you are here. You know, some people find comfort in religion, and that's okay for me. The whole thing is like, And I think that this is one of the things that always kind of rubs me the wrong way whenever people get really really shitty about religion, which is when they're really like, you need to believe in something. And it's like, I don't need to, because that's, or they'll say like, well, what do you feel comforted by? You know, if you don't know what there is, like,
Jaxon, science.
I feel comforted by the fact that there is happiness that is possible to find in everything that I do. That's the important thing. That is my quote unquote religion. That is my like thing that grounds me and makes me wake up and feel comfortable, because that's what a lot of religion is for people, is that is like, it keeps me going. It's what wakes me up. It's what gets me going and keeps me going.
Yeah, it's like your morale. It's what you base, you know, your core pieces on.
Yeah, it's your culture.
Yeah.
For me, it's understanding that childlike wonder persists all around us. You know, even...
And that kind of goes in hand with like being or having gratuity.
Yeah, you know, be grateful
for everything.
Yeah, it's funny because I think as of late I've been really not appreciative of the wonderful things that I do have, and I've been really upset and kind of angry and discomforted by a lot of the stuff going on in my life. And then I kind of pinned it down to, I'm not happy at work, which bleeds into my life overall, which makes me less happy, period.
Yeah, because obviously work is where you're going to spend most of your time at. So obviously it's going to bleed into everything else, because you're going to end up taking it home. And obviously, you know, certain situations are very stressful.
Yeah, and then I kind of have been trying to take that moment and be like, it's not forever. I'm going to leave soon, or, you know, whatever it might be. But also, it's not the work that I want to do. The work that I want to do, I'm doing currently. You know, I've been working on YouTube. I've been working on videos. I've been working on the podcast. I've been streaming all the time. Like, there are things that I'm doing that are that childlike wonder, that are the thing that fulfills me. And so I think that it's important because it's the reason to keep going. You know, you will find it somewhere. And if you haven't yet, I promise, keep looking, look at the things you do. And if you don't do anything that you love, maybe you need to switch something up.
Hella.
So, how do you prevent losing that? How, you know, if you found it and you feel like it's gone, how do you prevent losing that childlike wonder, or, you know, like tarnishing it, I guess?
I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like they always tell you as a kid never to grow up. And it's because they're telling you, honestly, that growing up is ass. And being an adult and looking at the world from a mature standpoint is fucking garbage. Because you have to do shit that you don't want to do. You have to deal with shit that you don't want to deal with. And, you know, kind of like as a kid, how you said before, like there's just really a filter that really just catches all the good shit that happens and all the bad shit, or all the shit that you wouldn't really
everything's
think about.
polished.
Like, yeah, everything kind of just like filters out, and you don't really think twice about it. And I mean, it really is just kind of depend. It really depends on how you were brought up. You know what I mean? Because if you were obviously struggling from a baby, then all you're all you're gonna know is struggle. You know what I mean? So I think those people are obviously more grateful than people who have had everything growing up, or even, I guess, just a little bit spoiled, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I think like if you're, you know, pretty somewhere in the middle, and you kind of grown up and you've really like lost your sense of like child, I guess you can call it, or your child wonder. If going back, kind of like, you know, obviously the exercise you did, you know, doesn't work, then, you know, really, I think it would kind of just go back into what we've talked about before, is finding a hobby or finding something that gives you like
meaning, passion.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like a release that isn't like, oh, I'm trading in, I'm not making the transactional value of putting in time for money.
Yeah. And that's what fucks me up is I feel like there are a lot of people, and it just so happens that I know a lot of these people who their life is wake up, work, go home, and I just sit on TikTok.
Yeah.
And like they're like, I don't really do anything for fun. I don't really do anything. And then I go to bed and then I work.
What's a hobby?
And I'm just like, and 9 times out of 10 I talk to these people and they have no sense of fulfillment. They're like, I don't really feel like, or they're in school and they're like, hey, I don't feel like I do anything. I feel like I'm not making any progress, or, you know, whatever. I'm not happy. And it's like, you don't have anything fulfilling you. You're not subsidizing any of the like net loss with a net gain.
Yeah.
Because net loss would be time to work. Yeah. Unless you love your job. Like, it is a net loss because you are
like
still...
You have to make that transaction of like time for your money, right? Because regardless, you have to get money, you have to pay for shit, and whether it be rent, school, whatever it is, you have to get a job to be able to pay for shit, right? So once you make that transaction, time for money, everything else after that is you have to figure something out.
Yeah, and then, you know, and things like TikTok, things like Reddit, you know, those aren't tools for happiness. They're
unless you're the one producing rather than being a consumer.
Well, then at that point you are a creator. That is your art. That is your you know, expression. But just like sitting and scrolling through TikTok, like that's not. You might gain like momentary bouts.
You're getting smooth brain.
Yeah, because you're not harnessing anything. You're not producing a forward momentum, and I don't think that there's a way you can feasibly form like a complete sense of childlike wonder or just pure happiness.
Oh, you ready? You ready? I'm about to combat this. I'm about to be the one person who would argue with Jaxon and think that they're right. I've learned more from TikTok than I have ever would in school. What do you say about that?
You are fundamentally wrong, but you're right at the same time. Mm-hmm. You've slightly learned more practical use things.
Facts, because our school system is dog shit.
But you learned how to speak in school.
Hella.
You learned how to write in school.
Hella.
You learned basic mathematics in school.
Hella.
You learned basic history in school, which are things that are important to you.
I learned one side of history in school.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't say basic history.
That's why I said basic.
I wouldn't even call it basic, but yeah, I get you.
Because learning stuff from the past 50 years is what I consider basic history.
Yeah. In only one person's perspective.
Yes. You learn basic forms of communication skills from school. Even if they necessarily weren't, they were kind of more of a byproduct of the environment. You still learn them in school. They are encouraged.
Yeah.
You learn basic forms of economic values, not important ones necessarily all the way through, but you still are taught like, hey, this is like the conduct of money and evaluation and how it works. Even if it's not the stuff you really need, like taxes or budgeting skills, that stuff's not really taught. You are taught the basic forms of government in school. There are a lot of things you learn in school that, while I do agree our school system is literally stinky,
stinky.
Yeah. I do think that there's also a lot of things that people discount as not relevant, or like, I learned nothing in school. I'm like, just because most of the time they're referring to like high school or middle school because that's what you core remember. Yeah. But like, there's a lot of school. Like 1/4 of your life is in school, basically. Yeah. So you need to understand that there's a lot of things you take away there.
So whether it's useful things or not,
because I can guarantee you, I've learned more useless dog shit and seen a lot of stinky poo-poos on TikTok than I ever will the things that make me feel some type of way or like I've learned.
I don't know. We both went to school in the same state.
Yeah, but overall, I definitely learn. I don't learn as much as I kind of sit there go what or haha on TikTok. Yeah. You know, and some of the stuff on TikTok also not super accurate.
True. You also have a lot of TikTok degree warriors.
Yeah, who sometimes they speak and I'm like, wow, you're man.
Be like, man, you did like 5 minutes worth of research on the internet and automatically you're a pro in this.
And then I check comments. I'm like, all the other people who are like, hey,
Hey, bud, hate to break it to you.
what's going on? I've learned more about cooking than I have ever in school from TikTok.
I've learned most like kind of like how you said like shit you wouldn't really think about like from TikTok.
Yeah, like I learned how to turn the beeper on my microwave off from TikTok.
Yeah.
Like things that are like practical use things and like other bits of information that are helpful. But also
some of the shit that people with actual PhDs see and they're like, I would have never thought about that. I don't know how you came across that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I think it's so funny how like the spectrum is.
I think that there's a good thing about childlike wonder that TikTok has encouraged, which is to express yourself and to form a positive self-identity and positive mental health pattern if you're on the right part of TikTok.
Yeah, because there's like, if your algorithm's fucked, you get some absolute demons.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people on TikTok who are like therapists or, social workers who literally go on there to encourage and spread the word of like, hey,
trying to patch the absolute toxicness of what the world is and the internet and social media.
You know what a lot of my TikTok is lately? It's a lot of people who are being like, do you want to know why you like this thing as an adult? It's because you probably did this as a child. So like, for example, it'll be like, you know why you like air fryers as an adult? It's because you played with Easy Bake Ovens as a child and stuff like that.
I never played with Easy Bake Oven. I'm an air fryer connoisseur.
I just mean like,
no,
things
I get
that,
you. I just like,
or like we liked Lunchables,
yeah.
like that's why we like charcuterie boards is because you played with Lunchables as a kid, which is the same principle. But like, there's a whole bunch of that stuff and I'm just like,
then you start thinking about it and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. But anyway, try to find that childlike wonder. It can bring a lot of happiness for you. We so naturally, by the way, and I think this is the most natural we've ever done it, ticked every single one of these checkboxes. But I didn't pivot us most of the time. It was more just like natural conversational movement.
We were
that was good.
Disciplined today,
that was good.
Bro. We were on it today, guys.
Oh.
Stinky.
Yeah, you know what else is kind of poo-poo stinky? Ew. Let's come up.
That was a rough transition.
It's because of what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about Ezra Miller.
Yeah, super poo-poo stinky.
Yeah, ew.
Yeah, ew, boo.
But the Flash trailer came out.
Yeah, and if you watched the Super Bowl and you saw the Flash trailer and your butthole got as tight as mine did when you saw the old Batman, what's his name? Michael... Fuck, I forgot it. My parents were talking about it.
Huh?
I don't know if it might not be Michael. They showed the old Batman because Ezra
Which
Miller,
one?
like the OG, like 1990 something Batman.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see it. So
I didn't watch the trailer yet. No.
Oh, so because they introduced Flash running through the timeline. So he's obviously with not Robert Pattinson, Ben Affleck Batman.
That's the last Batman.
Yeah. So Ben Affleck Batman, he's with that Batman, and he runs obviously through to the past. So now there's double Ezras, right? And they're trying to help each other out and work together. But then he brings back old Batman, and it's like OG with the gray from right here, the black top, and it's like just the pointy, and then it has a like just a black and yellow symbol, and it's like a super basic belt.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I don't remember his name right.
It's Michael something.
Michael Caine?
Some shit like that. And then Ezra also pulls off. He was like, "What's this?" And he pulls off the tarp, and it's the old Batmobile.
That's lit.
Like the OG Batmobile.
You know what the concern is? Ezra Miller.
Obviously, and if you don't know who Ezra Miller is, he is...
preliminary Google search. Yeah. Honestly, like, it'll kind of catch you up. At this point,
my man's rap sheet is just keeps kind of piling up.
He's the guy from what's the Harry Potter spinoff series? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. He's the
wasn't he in
depressed orphan?
Wasn't he in Perks How to Be a Wallflower? Or
Perks of Being a Wallflower? Yeah, he's also in that. I don't know his character's name in that. But
yeah, long black hair, super pale dude. But yeah, not a very great dude. He's obviously in jail, I'm pretty sure. No, he's not. He's not. Is he still on trial for anything? Is he waiting on anything?
I think that they might have done an out-of-court settlement.
Oh, that's crazy, dog. But regardless, DC still went on
really
to
know.
show their support and obviously put out this movie for him.
Kinda, yeah.
Well, I mean, they kind of did because obviously they still put the movie out.
Okay, so here's the deal. Ezra Miller did some fuck shit, and then right when he did some fuck shit, they just finished doing the screenings for Flash, like the test screenings, and it scored like almost a perfect score on the test screenings.
Yeah, because
so they were like,
bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, because if you do see this trailer, like, this is one of. Oh my god, dude, are you all right? You're good. You got it. Breathe. Drink something. This is probably one of the first movies that I've been excited about that has come out from DC since Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. Because regardless of that movie being dog shit, as a child, that movie to me was fantastic. As like, I still watch that as a kid, and I still think that that's a great movie. I hope you know.
am I in the fucking Twilight Zone?
No, just because for me, like, obviously, like, understanding now, getting older, understanding that movie was not
good.
okay. Not okay, especially when it comes to, like, making comic-esque movies. Terrible job. But just as a movie and growing up as a kid, I liked it. You know what I mean?
That's all that matters, I guess.
Yeah, so fuck it. I haven't been excited about a movie like this because, like, the Supermans came out, and I was, like, iffy about Superman when it came out. I wouldn't even consider Batman, like, the Batmans that have come out, a part of DC because they're so well, like...
Other than the one with Ben Affleck, I assume you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, all the rest of them, I don't count, like, Dark Knight Rises as DC or, like, any of that series.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's is kind of...
He's, like, he did his own thing with it. I don't really consider that DC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The closest DC Batman movie will obviously be Robert Pattinson.
Love that man.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah, what a fucking guy. You know what I mean? I think most people who would like have seen it and really know about the comics would understand.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm obviously excited for the movie because I think them introducing, and if they do it correctly, they can actually get into really breaking out the DC universe and like really introducing and being on almost like their own path of Avengers and the Endgame. Because now,
you know what I'm excited about? Black Adam came out. I didn't watch it.
I've watched it on HBO. It's on HBO now.
One of the guys that's in it is a link to Constantine, and I love me some Constantine.
Oh yeah, isn't it? You talking about the gold helmet dude?
Yeah.
Dr. Fate.
Yeah,
yeah. Because I was just gonna say, because obviously in Black Adam, that group is called the Justice Society.
Yeah.
So that Justice Society obviously turns into the Justice League, and you know they slowly try to recruit people. Constantine is one of them.
I love Constantine.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite comic book characters.
He is pretty dope. And honestly, between that and like, I think it's cool how they always like bring in like I guess like people from like hellish powers that they kind of tie in, like, you know, the devil and like different things like that. And like, because obviously Marvel is, they hardly really do that. I think the closest you can kind of get to is like Wanda,
Scarlet Witch, and Doctor Strange.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just because they're ties to like different dimensions and bullshit like that. But like with DC, they take it to like an actual like whole new level.
Yeah,
like,
well, they get into like biblical mythos and stuff.
Yeah, you know what
which
I mean?
I think is also why I really like Constantine, because it's like pure witchcraft and biblical magic, and
like actually has to do with like the shit that like
it's so wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, and
it's very swag.
Yeah, so it's
love
really,
that character.
So when I actually watched Black Adam and they introduced the Justice Society, I was like, oh, they're starting to like get into their, you know, swing of things. You know, maybe they actually start unrevealing, you know, phases and stuff like that, and start getting their own Avengers, start looking esque thing. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out, obviously. But I mean, overall, the movie is probably going to be cool. Obviously, it's shitty that Ezra is still the main character for it. I mean, hopefully they can kind of find a
replacement or something.
Or do something, because it's going to hurt, obviously, the rest of the movies if he's going to still be in it, because people are just not going to support it. And it's going to suck if you create a fucking killer-ass movie and have shitty people doing it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my take on it.
That's fair. There's two things I kind of want to come up on. And we're going to brush over one of them really quick, because I don't think it's that a conversation that I really want to talk about a whole lot. But this is going to be the last of the Super Bowl talk. Real quick, Rihanna's halftime show. First off, Eagles got hoed. Second off, Rihanna's halftime show. Wow. That's wild.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. Can you believe that they dressed the background dancers like that?
What do you mean?
They look like Stay Puft Marshmallow Men.
I don't think they did it. She probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, I didn't say the background dancers chose to dress like that.
I'm sure. Well, because she was dressed as a big red marshmallow, and honestly, it was probably to mask the fact that she's pregnant again. My mom originally said it
fake.
was.
She's not even pregnant.
My mom said she was like, well, maybe it's like baby fat that she hasn't lost, and I was like, that looks like a baby.
Hasn't it been 9 months since she was pregnant?
Exactly. I'm like, that's a kid. That's a whole ass child. My man ASAP is building a whole army, and I think
ASAP Pebble now.
Yeah, and I hate you for that. And Rihanna has said it before that she wants to build like 8 or 10 kid family.
She wants to build a little militia.
Literally, you know what I mean?
Under her umbrella.
And we're so done with this. I want to go home.
Anyway, the main part that I want to talk about, one, the background dancing, wild, and some of the moves that they did, crazy. And I'm so glad TikTok got to it too, because Jesus.
Why?
I've done a lot of production work. I've seen a lot of dances. And I'm just saying, some of the dance moves that were performed for a Super Bowl performance by top tier dancers were as good as a high school dance.
Yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from, but I also think that because of how much was going on, and most people were just kind of focused on Rihanna because no one has seen her on a stage in like 7+ years.
That should make the immensity of the performance more important.
Yeah, but I feel like for me, like
background dancers did fucking 99 Cent Thriller, and then went. That was a dance move, Brendan. And then the other one were fucking T-posing. Those were dance moves.
Yeah, I didn't really.
And walking around doing the fucking YMCA.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to the background dancers. I was really just
Oh
focusing
man,
on
you're
Rihanna
fucking missing out because they did some wild shit.
I was really just focusing on Rihanna the entire time and the fact that she was showing.
Those Stay Puft Marshmallow Men are going crazy. There's one photo that I have of these guys, and it's when they're running onto the field because it cuts away and it's when the extras come on and they're going as they run out, and this guy in the back, like he's second back, and he looks so happy. Like this is the highlight of his life. He'll never achieve anything better than this moment.
We did just shit on that guy's entire experience,
dude. He performed at the Super Bowl. He's doing
for Rihanna.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
but like, just seeing those moments is so good. It's so good. There's also a really funny one of a guy, and they're like doing this thing where I don't know what song's playing at the time, but they're basically hopping on one leg and swinging side to side, and they kind of are going in a circle. And this guy, and he's right in the camera, and he has his tongue out. He's like, ah. And I was like, that man jumping like that and doing the tongue thing is literally like the definition of like going to fuck your bitch. Like, it is so funny.
I hate you so much. I honestly...
I'll show you all these right before I leave.
From a headache standpoint, how much of a headache did the Super Bowl look like to you? That Super Bowl halftime show?
Oh, it looked fucking like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Those stages alone and the floating lighting stages alone looked so terrifying. But the shot of her on whenever she's back up, so the last bit of the performance where she's back on the platform, and it raises and there's a close-up, and then the camera pans out, and it shows like the rest of the stadium. That is a beautiful shot. That is like actually like
you like creamed your pants.
I literally looked at that. I said, "Damn, that was fucking good. Good job, guys." Also,
good job, team.
The last little bit of it that I want to say, Rihanna super fucking fake performed. Her lip syncing was fucking atrocious.
I think she lip sang some of it and then sang.
Oh no, the parts where it slowed down a lot and it was like just like core vocals, very slowed down, and she's like standing there and just like a slow part of the song. They let her perform. Everything else was lip sync. Yeah. And it was like bad.
Yeah, I think I'm just mesmerized by the fact that Rihanna just looks like Rihanna, so I couldn't really say anything.
Yeah, but it was funny because I was talking to my significant other about it, and then she goes, "You think it was lip sync?" And I said, "Hold up 1 second." I play her the track like from the album, and then I cut to the part where she's singing that song, and I hit play, and she's like, "That sounds the exact same." I said, "Isn't that weird?" I said, "Crazy how that happens." But also, it's a known fact that the Super Bowl has majority of the tracks played because production-wise, it makes no sense for them to try and set up in a 5 to 10 minute period for a 15 to 10 minute show and then deconstruct the stage in a 5 to 10 minute period.
Yeah, and obviously for hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, because you can't really do an audio test in that environment. You can't make sure all the sound quality is good.
And you're on a timeline.
Yeah, and
bro.
wireless audio systems are really finicky
Shaky.
sometimes, so you can't always guarantee that it'll work the way you want it to. That's why the guy who did the mic work for, I think it was Adele or Ariana Grande at one of the Oscar Awards or Grammy Awards, is no longer in the industry because he got so flamed for it, I'm pretty sure. And you will get like blacklisted for shit like that. Anyways, that's why I'm not in the industry anymore. Well, not really, but it's part of it. I'm so scared of that. So,
anyhow,
that was kind of one of the things. Second thing, really quick. Have you seen the show with Hogwarts Legacy?
I've seen most of it.
So, Hogwarts Legacy just came out. It's a game about Harry Potter.
I think the fact that a whole website was created.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about really fast.
That's crazy.
We're kind of hitting both the topics quickly.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about it because it's still hot news. And so a lot of people, J.K. Rowling, obviously kind of a shitty person, pretty transphobic, not very cash money.
Pretty transphobic. Very openly transphobic.
I honestly don't know how transphobic she is because I didn't pay that much attention.
It was a very openly I do not support this at all.
Okay, J.K. Rowling, not very cash money, not trans, or not trans friendly.
Yeah.
And the Harry Potter, obviously, property of hers. Hogwarts Legacy
is a video game, a very open world-esque video game. That if you're familiar with Dark Souls, the Elden Ring,
Souls Lake. That's the genre type.
Oh, yeah. Very open world-esque. If you can see it, you can probably go to it.
But anyway, game is her company technically because it's Pottermore Studios. Anyway, the trans community and its allies, some of them, a very loud minority, just like the very loud minority that says all the other awful shit, decided that they wanted to try and cancel the game. And then the canceling went from, we're going to protest the game and try and get people to not buy it, then turned to, we're going to belittle anybody who bought it and tell you that you are transphobic and you're an awful person.
And that you're a bigot and that you're this shitty ass person and that we're going to basically bombard your live stream and just completely just tear you down as a human being.
Yeah. So what happened was there was a group of people who would go into the live stream category, and no matter the size of streamer, usually it was like the medium streamers that they would target and some small streamers, and they would go and bombard the chat with hate speech and calling them all these awful things and talking about how they're transphobic and all this awful shit, right? To these live streamers in the middle of their stream because they were playing Hogwarts Legacy. And it got to a point where they made a website that was meant to tell you if you entered a streamer's name, and it basically just had a list that told you whether or not they played the game. Which is fucking awful. And it would tell you if they're live so that you can go do that shit too.
Yeah, and I mean, my kind of viewpoint on it was, I told you this, me and my brother have a friend of ours who is a trans male. And he basically came and was because my brother had asked him, yo, how do you feel about this? He was like, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. He's like, the creator of Harry Potter literally hates me for who I've become and who I've always been. And that doesn't change the fact that I grew up wanting to be a fucking wizard and wanting to have magic and be a part of a certain school and want to literally live the life of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He was like, that doesn't change anything about how I've grown up or how I still view the story or what was created, regardless of who created it. It's already there, and I grew up on it, and I absolutely am infatuated with it. And so my brother plays with him. You know what I mean? And, he was like, I don't see any point in belittling somebody who plays a game if they're not openly openly playing the game to despise trans people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Also,
that's not.
she sees like almost none of that profit.
She probably sees like 1%.
If that, because the game also has to break even, which takes a lot of money. Most AAA games are not profitable. They break even. And that's how a studio can keep maintaining.
And with the negative connotation that also has a, come behind the story, I'm sure cut, buying in half.
And so there's a whole bunch of stuff with that. And it's just kind of poo poo pee pee. But be a good person. Be a good fucking human.
Hella be a good person. Be a great human being. Stop being shitty human beings. Let people do what they want.
That's gonna wrap us up. Brendan, where can they find you?
In a hole. On Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, KillerB420, and on TikTok, KillerBDabs.
You can find me at RQ on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube.
And where can they find us, Jaxon?
Coming up for air podcast.
Oh, got him.
On TikTok.
Oh, quiz time. And?
Up for aircast on Twitter.
Ooh, yep.
And coming up for air.
Cast
on Instagram.
Oh, got him. Pow!
And if you like this, make sure to like, subscribe, rate the podcast, share it with your mama, share it with your friends, share it with your dog.
Dog. Yeah, share it with all of them.
But anyway, guys, we will see you next Wednesday.
Later, gang.
Hopefully on time.